We're live from New Delhi, watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next hour. Israel's cabinet to meet on Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal after Prime Minister Netanyahu says deal finalized. US says Gaza ceasefire to start on time. French Prime Minister Francois Bayrou survives first no-confidence vote in Parliament. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate Bharat Mobility Global Expo in New Delhi aims to unite the entire mobility value chain under one umbrella. India's President Draupadi Murmu to confer National Sports Awards in New Delhi. D. Gukesh, Harmanpreet Singh, Praveen Kumar and Manu Bhake to get Khel Ratna. Well, first up, the updates on Israel-Hamas conflict. Israel's security cabinet will meet on Friday after final details of a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal were finalized. The office of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Friday that a deal to release the hostages had been reached and that he had ordered the political security cabinet to convene later in the day. If approved by the cabinet, the ceasefire agreement would take effect on Sunday and involve the exchange of Israeli hostages for Palestinian prisoners, after which the terms of a permanent end to the conflict would be finalized. Meanwhile, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken expressed confidence on Thursday that the Gaza ceasefire agreed upon by Israel and Hamas will take effect on Sunday as scheduled. This despite a last-minute issue that needs to be resolved by negotiators. Blinken, in his last news conference as the U.S. top diplomat, said he had been speaking to U.S. negotiator Brett McGurk and Qatari officials on Thursday morning to resolve the issue.
Yes, I am confident, and I fully expect that implementation will begin, as we said, on Sunday. Look, it's not exactly surprising that in a process and a negotiation that has been this challenging and this fraught, you may get a loose end. We're tying up that loose end as we speak. I've been on the phone in one way or another all morning with Brett McGurk, with our Qatari friends, and I'm very confident that this is moving forward, and we'll see the start of implementation of the agreement on Sunday.
Well, the ceasefire accord emerged on Wednesday after mediation by Qatar, Egypt and the U.S. to stop the conflict that began with the deadly Hamas attacks on Israel. The deal outlines a 6-week initial ceasefire with the gradual withdrawal of Israeli forces. Dozens of hostages taken by Hamas would be freed in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners detained in Israel. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization also called on the international community to step up and fund a scaled-up aid response in Gaza after Israel and Hamas reaches a ceasefire deal.
This is the time for member states, donors and the global community to step up, to provide this flexible funding and to enable these swift and effective responses and for the urgent and longer term needs. And the UN cannot deliver the response alone on all fronts. The private sector is critical and private supply chains should be restored and basic commodities allowed to flood Gaza.
And for more, we have my colleague Shubhendu Ghosh joining us. Well, Shubhendu, this morning, the deal to release the hostages has been reached, and Netanyahu has also ordered the political security cabinet to convene later in the day. Tell us the latest, what all is expected.
Today that the deal could be derailed because Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel had said that Hamas, in fact, had reneged on some of the points of agreement. But this morning, the update that is coming in from Prime Minister's office in Israel is that he has convened the meeting of the cabinet, and now they will proceed with the voting, the ratifying of the deal that has been agreed with Hamas for a ceasefire of the Gaza conflict. Hugely significant. The 15 months of brutal fighting, there's a possibility that it could possibly the beginning of the end of the conflict is something that we could be looking at. Sunday, 19th of January is the date on which the deal, if ratified by the Israeli cabinet, comes into being. It will begin with the exchange of Israeli hostages, about 33 of them, in exchange of Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails, and there would be a partial withdrawal of Israeli forces. However, even as the final points of the deal are going to be ratified, Israel continues to bomb different parts of Gaza. Its military operation continues in Gaza. There is also, we have to understand, significant international developments that have contributed to this Gaza ceasefire: the fall of Assad regime in Syria, the change of regime in the United States, the incoming President-elect Donald Trump's office would want a clear palette. They would want to focus on domestic priorities, and therefore both the outgoing Biden administration and the incoming Trump administration put their weight behind in getting this deal through. The final ink would be by the ratification of the Israeli cabinet.
Absolutely, a lot of international pressure also there. Also, Shubhendu, for the sake of our viewers, can you elaborate as to how the deal is going to pan out, as there are hardliners within Netanyahu's government also?
That's right. So broadly, there are three phases to this ceasefire deal. Phase one, if everything is ratified and agreed, and if the ceasefire deal is proceeded with, phase one will be about 6 weeks long. 33 Israeli hostages in Gaza would be freed by Hamas, mostly women, children, and elderly. In return, hundreds of Palestinian prisoners would be released by Israel. There would be a partial withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. This would be the first phase. It will span over 6 weeks. Thereafter, we reach the second phase. Remember, there are nearly 100 Israeli hostages still captured by Hamas. And in the second phase, all remaining hostages are going to be freed. Again, many Palestinian prisoners would also be freed. More importantly, there would be a complete military withdrawal of Israel from the Gaza Strip. The third phase remains a little vague. It talks about reconstruction, aid delivery, humanitarian support. However, none of the three phases importantly talk about who is going to govern Gaza and how. Remember, Hamas has received a deadly setback in this conflict. Israel has spoken about completely eliminating Hamas. So there is no detail as to what will happen to the governance of Gaza in the process of the ceasefire dealing. And as you mentioned, that Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel also continues to be under tremendous pressure. It is a choice between, in many ways, peace and power. If he chooses ceasefire, there are at least two prominent members of his cabinet, of his government, who threatened to quit. They say that this is a bad deal for Israel and it hasn't met the goals that it has set in the beginning of the conflict. So in that sense, a tightrope walk for Netanyahu as well.
Right. Shubhendu, also, as you said, the governance of Gaza is a big question there. And if you could throw some light on the complexity and the logistics of the deal once implemented, as of course, this is a very fragile one. Even Hamas getting the hostages safely to the handover point will present significant security challenges out there.
Lipakshi, we have to understand in these 15 months of conflict, Gaza, the people, the ordinary civilians have faced the worst brunt of the conflict. There has been unimagined bloodshed and violence. Millions of people have been displaced. The reconstruction work, supply of humanitarian aid, it has to be a continuous and organized process. Governance is going to be hugely significant. Hamas, remember, also were the power that governed Gaza before this conflict had begun. But after the setback that they've received in this conflict, it remains to be seen if Israel and its allies would allow Hamas to once again return to power in Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu from the beginning has maintained that one of the goals of the Israeli operation is the complete elimination of Hamas. Donald Trump has also reiterated that Gaza must never be used for any terrorist activity against Israel or any other country. In that sense, it does leave a void. What is the manner in which millions of people, Palestinians, are going to be governed? Or what will be their say in the manner in which they will be governed? Will there be a creation of a buffer zone? Will there be international powers who will come together to take forward the peace and ceasefire process in Gaza? Those questions remain unanswered at the moment, but perhaps the focus right now is to bring this brutal conflict to some kind of an end to begin with. Let the bloodshed stop, let humanitarian aid come in, and then the powers in question perhaps would also work towards the governance question.
Absolutely. Big questions still remain. Thank you so much, Shubhendu, for all those details. And moving on, following the announcement of a ceasefire in Gaza, the World Food Programme stressed that this is only the start, not the end of what's needed to address the immense humanitarian needs. There are more than 2 million people displaced and living in tents in dire circumstances. They are in urgent need of food and other humanitarian assistance. There is also urgent need of rehabilitation, construction of houses, and infrastructure creation that has been destroyed in the conflict. The World Food Programme called for reliable access, international funding and collaboration to deliver life-saving aid and support recovery efforts. WFP Gaza Emergency Coordinator said that they need humanitarian teams to be able to move freely and safely across Gaza to reach those in need.
The reality is that we are still facing restrictions on the number of trucks we can come in, on the vetting process of the number of drivers, compounded with issues with looting, issues with smuggling. All of these things have hindered our ability to bring in the number of trucks that we would have liked to. This does not mean that there hasn't been an attempt by the humanitarian community, but the facilitation and the access of food movement here has continued to be a massive issue.
I have some food, I need the flour, I need the bread. For real, I wasn't fishing. For me, I was fishing. I had the dreams, But for real, I need to have food, man.
And moving on, French Prime Minister François Bayrou passed the first test of his new minority government on Thursday as he survived a vote of no confidence called by the hard left after the centre-left Socialist Party did not back the motion. This is the first no confidence vote Bayrou has faced after he formed the government on 23rd of December 2024. In a National Assembly with 577 lawmakers, 131 lawmakers voted in favour of the motion, well short of the 288 votes that were needed. The far-right National Rally Party of Marine Le Pen had already signalled it would not support the motion. Well, Bayrou is the sixth Prime Minister to serve under President Emmanuel Macron. He was appointed last month after the resignation of Michel Barnier, who served just 3 months in office, making him the shortest serving Prime Minister in French history. And Sudan government on Thursday denounced U.S. sanctions against the army chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan as immoral. In a statement, Sudan's foreign ministry said the sanctions express only confusion and a weak sense of justice. It has accused Washington of defending genocide by the Rapid Support Forces. The U.S. Treasury Department on Thursday announced sanctions against Burhan, accusing the army of attacking schools, markets and hospitals and using food deprivation as a weapon of war. It came a week after the U.S. slapped sanctions on RSF commander Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, accusing his group of committing genocide. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken voiced regret at his failure to end the brutal war. Blinken, who leaves office on Monday, said the army had repeatedly failed to join peace initiatives, although he hoped President-elect Donald Trump would keep trying on Sudan.
Another real regret that when it comes to Sudan, we haven't been able on our watch to get to that day of success. As I said, some improvements in getting humanitarian assistance in through our diplomacy, but not an end to the conflict, not an end to the abuses, not an end to the suffering of people. We'll keep working it for the next 3 days, and I hope the next administration will take that on as well.
Well, Cuban opposition leader José Daniel Ferrer was among a group of prisoners released on Thursday in a landmark deal with departing U.S. President Joe Biden. Ferrer is the most high-profile of the prisoners that Cuba began freeing on Wednesday after Biden agreed to remove the country from Washington's list of terrorism sponsors. In return for being removed from the U.S. terror list, Cuba promised to release 553 people. Over 30 people have been freed as part of the deal so far. Cuba has said it will continue to gradually release prisoners from its jails in the coming days and weeks. And still to come, DD India News Hour. UK and Ukraine ink landmark 100-year accord. South Korea's Yoon refuses questioning again as detention deadline looms. And an unexpected setback for SpaceX as it lost its Starship rocket during its 7th test flight.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khuranan. Moving on, as the Friday deadline to obtain a warrant to extend South Korean impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol detention or release loom, investigators have called in arrested President Yoon Suk-yeol for questioning again. While his lawyer said he won't attend questioning in order to hold Yoon in custody for longer, investigators are expected on Friday to ask a court to approve a detention warrant for up to 20 days. On Wednesday, Yoon became the first sitting South Korean president to be arrested over a probe into whether he committed insurrection when he briefly imposed martial law in early December. He's being held at the Seoul Detention Center. South Korea is grappling with its worst political crisis in decades, sparked by Yoon's brief attempt to impose martial law on December 3rd that was voted down by the parliament. Well, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer signed a landmark 100-year partnership agreement with Ukraine during an unannounced visit to the country, seeking to shore up support for Kyiv. In Starmer's first official visit to Kyiv since taking office last July, he pledged steadfast support in the face of the Russian invasion and said any deal to end the fighting must guarantee Ukraine's security and independence.
We must look at how this war could end, the practical ways to get a just and lasting peace. We agree that it must be a peace that guarantees your security, your independence, and your right to choose your own future. We will work with you and with all of our allies on steps that would be robust enough to guarantee Ukraine's security, guarantee any possible peace, and deter any future aggression. That conversation will continue in the months ahead.
Well, he later said that the UK would also discuss with allies deploying peacekeeping troops to Ukraine to help guarantee security following any ceasefire with Russia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hailed the 100-year accord, saying he hoped for similar agreements with other allies.
We have signed an agreement about 100 years partnership. We are confident in the independence of our state, and this is something Ukrainians will never give away. We are confident in our European partners, and this is something that strengthens Ukraine, Britain, and the whole Euro-Atlantic space.
Well, the visit is the latest meeting that Zelensky is holding in a flurry of talks with allies before Trump's return next week. And former President Jair Bolsonaro's defense filed a request on Thursday with Brazil's highest court to urgently reconsider the decision to bar him from traveling to the United States. Bolsonaro's defense claimed that he has fully complied with and respected the precautionary measures imposed on him by the Supreme Court and also rejected any possibility of him fleeing. Early on Thursday, Supreme Court refused to return the passport of former president so that he could attend the inauguration of U.S. President-elect Donald Trump. Bolsonaro, who has been barred from running for office until 2030 and faces criminal charges for allegedly plotting a coup after his 2022 election defeat, had his passport retained in February 2024 on the order of Brazil's top court. And U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, preparing to step down from his post, urged career civil servants at the Justice Department on Thursday not to let unfair criticism prevent them from doing what is right for the country. The address by Garland, who was appointed by outgoing President Joe Biden, comes on the second day of confirmation hearings before the Senate Judiciary Committee for Pam Bondi, Trump's nominee to be the next Attorney General. In his remarks, Garland called on Justice Department staff to keep guaranteeing the department's independence.
We swear that we will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and that we will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. But bearing true faith and allegiance to the Constitution is not the end of our obligation. It is just the beginning.
Well, outgoing U.S. President Joe Biden attended a Commander-in-Chief farewell ceremony in Virginia on Thursday. Biden handed over power to Republican Donald Trump at noon. Is going to hand over power at noon on January 20th. During the event, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin presented both Biden and First Lady Jill Biden with Distinguished Public Service Medals, the highest award given by the Department of Defense. Biden told the troops gathered at the event that serving as their Commander-in-Chief had been the greatest honor of his life.
Serving as your Commander-in-Chief has been the greatest honor of my life. While I'm deeply grateful for your thanks and affection, I'm here to thank you. Thank you for your service to our nation and for allowing me to bear witness to your courage, your commitment, your character. As I listened to the choir sing, I thought about it. You all represent what America is: character, honesty, integrity, commitment.
Well, Mark Carney, the former head of the Bank of Canada, has formally entered the race to replace Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as leader of the ruling Liberal Party. Carney launched his campaign for the party leadership at a rally in Edmonton, casting himself as an outsider who was not part of Trudeau's unpopular government. Trudeau announced his resignation this month amid unhappiness among legislators alarmed by the party's poor polling numbers ahead of an election this year. Trudeau, who took office in November 2015, will stay on until his replacement is named on March 9th. Carney's main rival looks to be former Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, whose resignation last month over policy differences led to Trudeau's decision to quit. And Britain has announced it will back new local inquiries into child sexual abuse and undertake a review of the extent of child sexual exploitation in the country. Well, the step comes after weeks of criticism by U.S. billionaire Elon Musk stirred renewed concern about a decades-old scandal over grooming gangs. Musk has accused British authorities of not doing enough. The scandals involved organized groups sexually exploiting vulnerable girls from the 1980s until at least the 2010s. Interior Minister Cuba said the government would set out a timetable before Easter to implement the 20 recommendations of a national inquiry published in 2022. And moving on, SpaceX lost its Starship rocket during its 7th test flight, an unexpected setback after the American company had made steady progress during its test flight campaign for the vehicle. Despite the loss of the Starship upper portion, the company again showcased its ability to catch the rocket's lower portion in midair using giant mechanical arms. It was supposed to attempt to reach near orbital speeds and deploy 10 dummy spacecraft designed to mimic the size, shape and weight of the upgraded SpaceX Starlink satellites that Starship will be launching in the future. It was to be the first time Starship attempted to deploy cargo in space, an important milestone in readying the rocket for operational use. But about 15 minutes into the mission, SpaceX lost communications with Starship. Launch commentators then said the vehicle had been lost. About 6 minutes into the flight, SpaceX used giant mechanical arms to catch the rocket's super heavy lower portion, the same stunning engineering maneuver it completed during the rocket's 5th test flight in October. But David Lynch, the acclaimed filmmaker who blended dreamlike surrealism with mystery and melodrama in films like Mulholland Drive and television projects like Twin Peaks, has died at 78. With his visually stunning, disturbing and inscrutable works filled with dream sequences and bizarre images, Lynch was considered a master of surrealism and one of the most innovative filmmakers of his generation. He received an honorary Academy Award in 2019 for his lifetime achievements. No cause of death was released. Earlier, Lynch disclosed that he had been diagnosed with emphysema, a lung disease caused by many years of smoking. Well, forest fires fueled by heat waves scorched a picturesque corner of Argentina's Patagonia region on Thursday, forcing the evacuation of hundreds of homes. Strong winds and high temperature fed a blaze that tore through grassland and forest near the remote village of Puman, reducing areas of pristine wilderness to a smoldering ruin. According to the authorities, an area roughly the size of 1,600 football fields caught fire in only 5 hours on Wednesday. Argentina's National Weather Service has declared 17 of the country's 23 provinces to be suffering extreme temperatures. And now let's get you latest updates in Los Angeles fire. Fighters were making steady progress on the deadly fires that have destroyed thousands of homes and other buildings across the region, but residents must prepare for a return of the strong winds that could rekindle and spread the flames as authorities warn. Los Angeles Fire Department has cautioned the residents to clear all the bushes within 200 feet of their homes as harsh Santa Ana winds expected to return next week. The Palisades and Eden fires, along with several smaller blazes, have burnt nearly 40,000 acres in Los Angeles County so far. The number of deaths attributed to the fires in Los Angeles rose to 27. Nearly 150,000 people have so far signed an online petition demanding the immediate resignation of Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass over her gross mismanagement and a lack of leadership during the devastating wildfires in the region. Meanwhile, frigid air is expected to move in across the United States over the weekend and into next week, bringing below freezing temperatures to most of the country. The bitter weather, allied to an Arctic polar vortex blast, is expected to bring nighttime lows as cold as minus 23 degrees Fahrenheit over the weekend for some of the northernmost parts of the United States. Chilly temperatures in January are not unusual, but these conditions are likely to be abnormally cold. The cold will settle across the country slowly, starting in the upper Midwest on Saturday before moving south into Sunday. And by Monday, just about every state will be experiencing temperatures colder than average for this time of the year. And in Brazil, intense overnight rainfall brought widespread flooding and major disruptions in the southern state of Santa Catarina. Rescue teams rescued families from floods. Authorities alerted locals to be on alert for landslides. Florianopolis Mayor Topazia Neto announced on social media that roads were closed and urged residents to stay home to allow repair crews and emergency vehicles access to the northern parts of the island and other areas. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Indonesian President to be the chief guest at India's 76th Republic Day celebrations. Candidates filed their nomination papers for Delhi Assembly election amid rallies and roadshows. And Maha Kumbh fervour continues, devotees taking a holy dip in Sangam in Prayagraj.
Timeless, boundless and infinite, the essence of faith, the soul of Sanatan culture, from the sacred confluence of Prayag, where divinity descends to earth. Witness the grandeur, the devotion, the magic, world's largest cultural and spiritual gathering, with over 450 million devotees expected to attend. Maha Kumbh, India's greatest festival of faith. Exclusively on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Israel's cabinet to meet on Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal after Prime Minister Netanyahu says deal finalized. US says Gaza ceasefire to start on time. French Prime Minister Francois Bayrou survives first no-confidence vote in Parliament. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate Bharat Mobility Global Expo in New Delhi aims to unite the entire mobility value chain under one umbrella. India's President Draupadi Murmu to confer National Sports Awards in New Delhi. D. Kukesh, Harmanpreet Singh, Praveen Kumar and Manu Bhake to get Khel Ratna. While moving on, the Bharat Mobility Global Expo will be held in Delhi from 17th to the 22nd of January 2025. The event will feature major automakers unveiling and launching a range of concept and production-ready vehicles. Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate the second edition of the event. DD India correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya has more inputs.
Welcome to Bharat Mobility Global Expo 2025, India's premier global mobility show, bringing the world's leading automotive and mobility players under one roof.
Now in its second edition, Bharat Mobility Global Expo will be inaugurated by Prime Minister Modi on Friday. The event is a game changer for the mobility industry, uniting the entire value chain to co-create the future of mobility. The theme for 2025, Beyond Boundaries, Co-creating Future Automotive Value Chain, emphasizes collaboration, innovation and sustainability to drive cutting-edge advancements. Spanning over 200,000 square meters across three iconic venues, Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi, Yashobhoomi in Dwarka, and India Expo Center and Mart in Greater Noida, the six-day extravaganza promises unparalleled opportunities to connect, innovate and inspire. With over 9 concurrent shows and 500,000 visitors expected, the Expo showcases the full spectrum of mobility solutions, from electric and hybrid vehicles to connected and autonomous technologies, sustainable urban transport systems, battery technologies, and beyond. International participation is at an all-time high, with 5,100 global players joining forces to shape the future of mobility. Adding to the excitement are 15+ conferences, bringing industry leaders together to share insights and spark new ideas.
The good part about the show is like we get the entire audience of the industry, right from the top decision makers, from CEOs to purchase heads to right to the bottom level of probably aftermarket mechanics. So we get the entire spectrum of the automotive industry at the show.
Supported by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry and hosted by leading industry associations, Bharat Mobility Global Expo 2025 highlights India's growing prominence on the global mobility stage.
Bharat Mobility Global Expo 2025 is shaping the future of mobility in the country. The event is an opportunity to connect, innovate and inspire. Bharat Mobility Global Expo 2025 is where the future of mobility begins. With camera person Gaurav Giri, this is Taposh Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
And Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto will be the chief guest at 76th Republic Day celebrations on January 26th. India's External Affairs Ministry in a statement said that Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto will pay a state visit to India at the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This will be President Prabowo's first visit to India as president after assuming office in October 2024. The forthcoming state visit of President Prabowo will provide an opportunity for the leaders to undertake a comprehensive review of bilateral ties as well as to discuss regional and global issues of mutual interest. Well, moving on, a total of 40 aircraft, including 22 fighter jets, 11 transport aircraft and 7 helicopters will participate in the flypast on the 76th Republic Day. Sukhoi, Jaguar, Rafale jets will be the star attractions over the Kartavya Path.
The contingent will consist of 4 officers and 144 other personnel, marching in a box formation of 12 rows and 12 columns. The marching contingent will be led by the Squadron M. Singh. Air warriors participating in the RD parade have been selected through a stringent process from across the Air Force. The contingent undergoes an intensive practice session of 7 to 8 hours every day, starting at the VRs around 4 a.m. in the morning. 121 musicians of IAF will participate in the beating retreat ceremony. The conductor for the ceremony will be Warrant Officer Ashok Kumar.
Well, Agniveers will also be a part of the marching contingent of 144 men. The marching contingent will also be accompanied by the Air Force Band comprising of 72 musicians led by Sergeant Charles Daniel.
Next formation is beam formation comprising of 1 C-17 and 2 Su-30. We have Amrit formation, which is pure fighter formation, comprising of 5 Jaguar aircraft, Vajrang formation, comprising of 6 Rafales, Trishul formation, 3 Su-30s flying in Vic formation. The flypast will culminate with single Rafale carrying out a vertical Charlie after crossing the dais.
Well, Indian Army successfully conducted capability demonstration launch of the Brahmos supersonic cruise missile at extended range, engaging a target in the Bay of Bengal with pinpoint accuracy. A tremendous leap forward in self-reliant India and precision strike capability. The Brahmos is capable of flying at nearly 3 times the speed of sound and launching from ships, land and aircraft. And moving on, the U.S. consulate officially opened in southern India's Bangalore on Friday morning. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivakumar and U.S. Ambassador Eric Garcetti attended the inauguration program. Speaking on the occasion, U.S. Ambassador Garcetti said the U.S. President kept his promise of opening up more consulates in India.
We used to say the U.S.-India relationship was so vast, the sky's the limit. But after yesterday, I think the sky is no longer the limit. It is to space and beyond. Congratulations to India on that big day. But today we fulfill a commitment made by our leaders during Prime Minister Modi's state visit to Washington last year. And it was actually in one of the preparatory meetings we had when the Secretary of State came here before G20. That we were at Hyderabad House in Delhi, and Minister Jaishankar took me aside and said, hey, we want you to open up more consulates here. And ever since, the Indian government has been pushing and pushing, and we've had a bureaucracy in America too. But President Biden put in the leader's statement with Prime Minister Modi that this would happen. And today, a promise made is a promise kept.
Well, today is the last day for filing nominations for Delhi Legislative Assembly election. The date for scrutiny of nominations is January 18th and the last date for withdrawal of candidature is 20th of January. With only 19 days left to polling, parties pulled out all stops for their campaigns. Candidates were adorned with garlands amidst inaugurating several strong contenders from the Bharatiya Janata Party, Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress held massive roadshows with senior party leaders from their respective parties ahead of filing their nominations. A total of 555 candidates filed their papers on Thursday. The single-phase polling will take place on the 5th of February and the counting of votes is scheduled for 8th of February. And now for all the news from the Maha Kumbh, the largest religious congregation in the world. Well, Maha Kumbh 2025, a significant religious event underway in the holy city of Prayagraj, with lakhs of devotees taking holy dip in Triveni Sangam, the confluence of sacred rivers Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati during his sacred period enhances spiritual power and aids in attaining salvation. This mega event, attracting millions of devotees, tourists and pilgrims from across the world, offers a unique opportunity to showcase India's cultural, spiritual heritage and tourism potential. The Maha Kumbh is one of the largest and most significant religious congregations in the world, held every 12 years at one of the 4 locations in India. The Maha Kumbh 2025, which is Purna Kumbh, is taking place in Uttar Pradesh's Prayagraj till February 26, 2025. And on day 5 of the Maha Kumbh Mela, the atmosphere is vibrant with spiritual fervour as millions of devotees continue to gather at the sacred banks of the Ganges in Prayagraj. The day witnessed significant rituals and events attracting pilgrims from across the country and around the world. And to ensure safe movement of people, the police is also always on the ground. Here is a report from Ground Zero by DD India's Siddharth Bharatwaj.
Maha Kumbh 2025, the largest religious gathering on earth. This mega festival has started and today is the 5th day of Maha Kumbh 2025 and you can see the large influx of people, the large influx of tourists, pilgrims and devotees who are coming to take holy bath in the confluence of River Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati known as Triveni Sangam. People from all walks of life are coming here to experience the grandeur of this mega festival. As you can see behind me, the temperature is dipping, the sun is shining, but the enthusiasm of the people is soaring with each passing day. Yesterday, renowned Indian singer Shankar Mahadevan was also here. He set the stage ablaze with his powerful performance, and also the audience who was present there were tapping on the devotional tunes. The devotional music is going on here at every corner. And amid this large congregation, the government has made sure that the security arrangements are elaborate. The first Amrit Snan was on January 14 on the occasion of Makar Sankranti, and the next Amrit Snan will be on 29th of January on Moni Amavasya, in which around 8 crore people are expected to come here in this holy land of Prayagraj, and for that elaborate security arrangements have been made, including 7-layer security, drone surveillance, helicopter surveillance, underwater drones, AI integrated cameras and CCTV cameras at every corner of the Kumbh Mela premises to make sure that the people who are coming here, this spiritual journey of theirs remains peaceful, harmonious, safe and secure. Apart from that, in case of any fire emergency, there are 2,000 plus fire personnel deployed and they have all the equipments and all the vehicles which can go in particular situation and give emergency response. All in all, the government has made no stone unturned to make sure that this largest peaceful religious gathering on earth remains peaceful, safe and secure. With camera person Rakesh Kumar, this is Siddharth Bharatwaj reporting for DD India in Prayagraj.
Well, the Maha Kumbh 2025 in Sangam city, Prayagraj, is not just a testament to India's eternal Sanatan culture and traditions, but also has a significant economic aspect. According to estimates, the shops operating during the 45-day Kumbh are expected to generate revenues of 200 billion rupees, while government earnings may touch 3,000 billion rupees. DD India correspondent Ajay Mishra reports for more.
Jai Maha Kumbh.
To showcase India's rich cultural and eternal Sanatan heritage, Uttar Pradesh government created a new district for just 121 days. This new district of Prayagraj, named Maha Kumbh Nagar, looks stunning as the land is witness to India's eternal traditions since ages. The new district will exist from December 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025. Maha Kumbh Nagar is also the world's largest temporary city.
Since ancient times, India's economy has revolved around religion and culture. Prayagraj, with its timeless Kumbh tradition, is the greatest witness to this. The Maha Kumbh 2025 has significantly impacted Prayagraj's local economy as well.
The Uttar Pradesh government expects 50 billion rupees investment in the tourism sector. This event will generate revenue of 400 billion rupees. Confederation of All India Traders also estimates that shopkeepers here will earn 200 billion rupees. The trade of pilgrimage-related goods is projected to touch 200 billion rupees. For the first time, helicopters are being used for Kumbh Parikrama or aerial tours, costing rupees 5,000 per person. This alone is expected to generate 100 billion rupees in revenue. The Uttar Pradesh government anticipates a total revenue of 200 billion rupees from the event.
Maha Kumbh 2025 में
consumption has increased manifold, and that is why different strata of people are getting benefited from it. There is no doubt that Kumbh will benefit every section of society, right from airline employees to different people.
Air travel bookings for Prayagraj increased by 162%. Railway ticket bookings saw 187% rise. Air ticket sales for Varanasi and Lucknow also spiked significantly. Searches for Prayagraj on websites rose 23 times. Hotels near Prayagraj are charging rupees 10,000 to 40,000 per day. This is just an estimate. The exact figures of Maha Kumbh's economic impact will only be known after 45 days. However, when one tea stall owners earn rupees 25,000 to 30,000 on Makar Sankranti alone, you can imagine how big will be the overall earning of various participants in the event. With camera person Shiv Suman, Ajay Mishra's report for DD India from Prayagraj.
And moving on, in a shocking turn of events, the Bollywood actor Saif Ali Khan received multiple injuries by an intruder who attacked him with a knife during an alleged burglary attempt at his residence in Mumbai late on Wednesday. Later, he had a surgery and now he's out of danger and the doctors are monitoring his progress. The police is investigating the incident. Meanwhile, the police have registered an FIR and are working to identify and apprehend the suspect. Well, you're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. India's President Draupadi Murmu will confer National Sports Awards 2024 on Friday at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi. President Murmu will confer Major Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna Award to Indian sportspersons D. Gukesh, Harmanpreet Singh, Praveen Kumar and Manu Bhaker. At the ceremony, 32 Arjun Awards will also be given to the athletes for outstanding performances in sports and games. Also, the 68th National Games Squash for Under-19 boys and girls commenced with a grand opening ceremony in New Delhi on Thursday. The ceremony marked the beginning of the three-day event starting from 17th of January, where young athletes from across the country will showcase their talent, skill and athleticism.
Bringing together the brightest sporting talents from across the nation, the 68th National School Games 2024-25 Squash Under-19 Boys and Girls has kicked off in grand style at K.R. Mangalam World School in New Delhi, organized by the Central Board.